Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris and I'm the head coach and managing director of the Skilled Wealth Money for Life program. And I just want to have a quick chat to you today, potentially to show you some of the things that you could be doing in the stock market to generate some sort of cash flow. These are the same sort of strategies that our clients are using on a daily basis now to generate immediate cash up front using a very safe, proven method of trading. And the chart that you see in front of you is a chart that refers to the SPX. In this particular case, you can see up in the top left-hand corner, SPX. It actually is the S&P 500, which are the top 500 shares that trade on the New York Stock Exchange. And for those of you who are not familiar with a chart, basically you have these red lines and green lines. We call these candles. They're ups and downs. A green line represents basically a share price that's been moving upward, whereas a red line represents a share price that has been coming down. And you can see obviously over the last couple of weeks, particularly since October, so October down here, we've got a timeline at the bottom. So from October to where we are now, we can see that the share price has been moving downward. Now, most people who have money invested in the share market would tend to lose money if they have a scenario or a strategy, which is what we call a buy and hold strategy. And what I mean by that is that if you were to buy a share, and let's say you bought a share at this particular level here and then you held on to it for a short period of time, the value of that share would have increased in value, and the difference between the purchase price and this value up here obviously would be your capital gain, and if you sold the share, obviously your profit. Now, of course, if you're in a situation where you bought a share at this level and of course the share price has started to come down, you may very well find yourself in a scenario where effectively at this level here, the difference between what your purchase price was and what the share was here that you may or may not have sold out of would realize you were lost. And I say may or may not have because most people who tend to get into what we call the buy and hold strategy would see that the value of the shares were dropping and fear kicks in. And that fear would see them at some point in time probably selling their share for a loss. Now, my clients understand that that's not the way to trade shares. And as a matter of fact, the strategies that we employ do not actually involve trading of shares. You see, we don't like the idea of buying and holding on for dear life just on the premise that perhaps the value of the share will rise. We would much rather be in a position where we can actually make money out of the stock exchange immediately up front, irrespective of whether the share price goes up, whether it goes down, or whether it's going sideways. And what I'm about to show you now is a real live example of what sort of strategy you could employ and how you could make money out of the stock market today. So, without further ado, let me show you a real live trade. Without understanding necessarily all the intricate details, you're going to get an overview of what we do, and you're going to see for yourself just how easy it is to generate that cash flow today. Now, we can see on our chart here that the share price at the moment is trading at $26.90. So that's $2,690 per share. Now, that's a lot of money. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how you trade, almost $2,700 per share is a lot of money to be investing in the market. And we're talking about just one share. That's not a bundle of shares, or 100 shares, that is just one share itself. Now, of course, there are people out there, and particularly large banks and financial institutions, who will invest that sort of money on a daily basis with a view that the share price is going to move. That's not what we're about at all. Our clients are investing and making money out of this particular trade by investing less than $1,000 into the market. As a matter of fact, we have clients who are investing no money in there at all and are still generating a cash flow. Let me show you how we've done it. Okay, so this is what we call a trade and probability calculator, and you can see here in this particular tab, and the program that you're looking at here is a brokering platform that's been supplied to us by Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab is a broker, just like any other share broker that's out there. They have their own software package, and we use this software package to obviously do our research and analysis and to trade the shares that we're looking at. And what you're looking at here is a snapshot or a photo that I took, a screenshot that I took of a trade that we did about a week ago. And again, we're looking at the S&P 500, so exactly the same stock code as the chart that you were looking at before. And you can see here that the price at the time was 2693. Okay, so not quite where we were on the other chart. And you can see obviously that the share price has moved, and that's understandable. As I said, this was a week ago. But what we've done is we've ended up with a position here. And if I can just briefly explain to you, this green hill that's here is the probability chart. So if you remember back to your maths days where you talk about probability and statistics at school, then the likelihood of an outcome occurring will sit somewhere on this particular probability chart. You'll have obviously the majority of the events occurring in the main bulk of the body here, and then in the wings off to the side will be, in terms of probability and statistics, you know, an occasional event that occurs outside of the norm. So what is the hill representing? Well, in this case, it's actually representing the share price. And on this particular day, the share was trading at 2693. As I said up here, 2693, this is the share price here. And the computer is actually telling us, the software package is telling us that there's a likelihood that the value of the share within, in this case, this date here, by this particular date, which is about 3 weeks away from the time I took this photo, the probability is that the value of the share is actually going to be between these two goalposts. Okay, and it's actually telling us that there's an 85.5% chance that the share price is actually going to be between this goalpost and this goalpost here. Now that's very interesting, isn't it? Because what the computer has effectively just told you is that if you were to buy that share today, then effectively there's an 85.5% chance that the share price will be between here and here. And the computer is also saying that there's a 10% chance that the share price is going to be this side of the goalpost, so 2840 or greater. And there's a 3.85% chance that the share price is actually going to be south of $2,500. Now, armed with that information, would you go and buy that share today? Well, you probably wouldn't, because you would be risking literally $2,693 for one share, where the computer is actually telling you that in terms of probability, it's likely that the share price is going to be somewhere in this vicinity. This is the share price today. This is what you would be buying at. So potentially the share price could be down here, or it could be up here. And likely it could be north of there, but also likely, but not probable, it could be south of there. So armed with that information, rather than we just go and buy the underlying share and hold on for dear life in the hope that the value of the share increases, what if we could actually generate an income immediately today by investing a little bit of money on the probability that the share is not going to be down here and is not going to be above here. In actual fact, the trade that we're seeing up here in the top left hand corner is exactly that type of trade, where we've said to the marketplace we would like to invest and potentially risk $2,685, but we don't have to come up with that money right now. Okay? But we potentially are going to risk that. And what we're going to make right now is $315 upfront immediately into our bank account. And as long as the share price remains this side of that goalpost and this side of this goalpost, then we get to keep all of that money as long as that occurs, that event occurs, up until the date that we've selected here. Now, we could be a little bit more risky if we like. We could take a little bit more of a risk, and we could bring these goalposts in and say, well, I'd like to actually say that the share price will not go past this point, and I'd like to say that the share price will not go past this point. And that would be an okay trade too. Higher risk, we would get a higher reward. But that's not what we're all about. You see, at Skilled Wealth, with the Money for Life program, we're all about taking a minimum risk, having a maximum return. And in actual fact, what would happen, and I'll demonstrate it to you in a minute, we wouldn't wait until this particular date for expiry. What we would do is we would actually take some profit off the table. And I'm going to show you how we would do that right now. So just want you to understand the concept. This is the share price today. We would invest a small amount of money to say that the value of the share is not going to be lower than this value here, and it's not going to be greater than this value here. The share price is going to stay somewhere within this region by this date. Now, let's move forward 1 week. So here's a snapshot of the market, exactly the same program, taken exactly 1 week later. You can see here exactly the same underlying share. The prices have changed. 2690.73 is now where the value of the share is today. And we can see that the expiry period is exactly the same that we had in the other slide. And we can see here that the goalposts haven't changed, 2,500, 2,840. So we took that trade knowing, well, believing that the value of the share is not going to be below here and is not going to be greater than here. This is where we are today. So the value of the share 1 week after we made that trade is right basically smack bang in the middle of our targeted zone. Now here's the interesting thing. If you remember, we were going to make $315. Okay, that was 1 week ago. Today, the value of exactly the same trade, using exactly the same strike prices as we call them, using exactly the same period of time, that value today would only make us $170. Okay, so what we've done is we've actually done this trade and we've made $315 immediately up front. And 1 week later, if we wanted to close this trade out completely and remove the obligations that we have because of the trade, then we would have to pay around about $170 to do that, which would see us effectively making $145 completed trade, locked away, can't be taken away from you for a period of 1 week. Now I'd like you to think about that for a minute. You've just made $145 as a minimum, guaranteed, locked away in your pocket for you to go and spend, and you haven't actually spent any money. You see, the value that we would be risking is not necessarily money that you're putting into the marketplace. Do you have to have money in your trading account to trade? Absolutely you do. Is this a particular type of trade? Yes, it is. Is there risk involved? Well, of course, any sort of investment will involve risk, and anybody that tells you otherwise is basically trying to get one over you. The first thing I say to every client that I have that joins our program is that there is inherent risk in everything that we do, particularly in the market. My job, though, as your personal coach, is to make sure that when you're doing these trades, you're doing it with a minimum of risk, and we're mitigating those risks. We're not choosing a position which is here and here. I mean, the likelihood of the share price being between here and here is a hell of a lot more likely than it being here and or here. But there is one thing that I will absolutely guarantee, and that is that by this particular date, the value of the share is either going to be here, or here, or here, or by this particular date it might even be here. or here. But I guarantee you 100% of the time that it will not be here and here. And it will not be here and here. And I absolutely know for a fact that it won't be here and here. Nor will it be here and here. It can only possibly finish in one place. But that's not the point of the trading that we're trying to achieve. I don't want to see this deal go through until that particular date. I want to take it off the table as quick as I possibly can. Remember, we originally made the trade for $315. Now, if it's going to cost me $170 to close the trade out, then I'm happy with that because I've made my $145 and I'm going to remove the obligation. But I can choose, if I want to continue with this trade. The share price is here today. It's still within the zone. It's within the targeted area. So if I leave this trade for another couple of days, maybe another week, if I wanted to, I could. And the value of having to buy this value back or to close this trade out might actually only be $60. It might only be $50. You never know. It might only be $10. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody can tell you what it will be. We can hypothesize what it might be, but I'm not really into hypotheses. I'd like to see cold hard facts, and I will close this account out as soon as I get to a situation where I can get out of this and pocket this, lock in my trade and lock in my profit immediately. Why? Because nobody ever went broke making a profit. Now, the other thing, of course, is that I've made $145 for the week. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, but I've only done this on one trade, and I've only done this on one contract. So in actual fact, for a very, very short period of time, for a very, very small investment on a very, very small trade, one contract in total, I've made a little bit of money. What if I was to do that on 10 contracts? Well, of course, that would mean that I didn't originally make $315. That would mean that I actually made $3,150 for the week. Now, that wouldn't mean that I'm buying it back at $170. That would mean that I'm actually removing the obligation by spending $1,700. That makes a big difference. But of course, I'm not making $145. I'm not locking $145 in as my profit. I'm now locking in $1,450, guaranteed, can't be taken off me, and this trade was 1 week. Do you think that'd make a difference in your life? Do you think that would change your financial circumstances? Of course, there is increased risk. Originally, we were only risking $2,600 on the original slide. So if that's what we were originally risking, now we're going to have to risk $26,000. But that's okay. You see, the choice is yours. If I had the ability to do this 15, 18, 20 years ago, I really, 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 really wish somebody had have told me how we could generate cash flow immediately up front every single day of the week. Again, I'm only talking about one trade on one contract. You imagine doing one trade and making this sort of money. Could that replace your income? Could that allow you a better retirement? $1,450 a week. That's a nice repayment on a car. That is a nice repayment on a boat. That is better than any investment property return that you'll ever get. What sort of holiday could you get for that around the world, perhaps? $1,450 a week. Hey, here's a thought. What if you were traveling around the world on that long holiday that you've always dreamt of, and you're actually doing this as you're trading and traveling? Wouldn't that be something neat? These are the sort of skills and tools that we've developed here at Skilled Wealth. This is not a flash in the pan, a once off, oh, we were lucky. This is something that our clients have been doing every single day. This is the mantra of our organization, making your financial future yours. It's so vitally important that you understand the skill set and get the tools that are required to do something like this. Now, of course, the question is, how long does it take to do? Well, the actual trade itself will take less than 30 seconds. Okay? To learn the education, to understand the skills that are required, will take you about 10 hours. 10 hours of training. I've set up a video link so that you can sit down as if I'm sitting with you and you can learn this technique. But then we go one step further. You see, what I do with my clients is I actually teach them how to fish. I don't want to give you the fish, because if I'm not here, then you'll starve. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the skills and the training that are required in order for you to learn how to do these types of trades yourself. And then I'm going to give you a bonus on top of that again. I'm going to give you direct access to me. And I'm going to hold your hand while you learn this strategy. And more importantly, I'm going to be right there with you as you implement this strategy. I'm actually going to be your personal coach that's going to hold your hand and allow you to earn while you learn. And that process is going to happen very, very quickly. You imagine $1,450 in a week. That's life-changing. And that's what we're all about. If you'd like some more information, or you'd like to understand how you can become part of the program, please feel free to contact us either through our Facebook page, either through the Wealth Generation Facebook group, or via our website, skilledwealth.com. As I said, my name is Chris. I'm the head trainer and managing director of Skilled Wealth. This is the Money for Life program, and I look forward to teaching you and talking to you about your financial future shortly. Have a great day. Bye for now.